Have you ever stopped to think about the massive world of aviation and wondered who speaks for everyone? I mean, you've got a solo pilot in a tiny plane, an executive running a huge international airport, and a giant airline. Their needs are worlds apart, but somehow they all need a voice. Let's dig into how that actually works.
Right, so who does that? The thing is, there's no single person or one big agency that handles it all. The industry is this huge, sprawling ecosystem of pilots, airport authorities, manufacturers, and airlines. And every single one of them has their own unique concerns that need to be heard.
And just to give you an idea of the sheer scale we're talking about, look at this. In the US alone, there are over 13,000 civil airports. We're talking everything from massive international hubs to tiny little airstrips in the middle of nowhere. That incredible diversity is exactly why a coordinated network is absolutely essential. So, to manage all this complexity, the industry relies on what's affectionately known as the alphabet soup. It's basically a whole collection of professional organizations, each with its own acronym, that acts as the political and educational backbone for the entire industry. They're the ones influencing laws and making sure everyone has the resources they need.
Okay, so here's our game plan for making sense of this soup. We're going to start on the ground, with the folks who run the airports. Then, we'll take to the skies and look at the advocates for pilots and operators. After that, we'll check out the industry's economic engine. And finally, we'll see how this whole giant chorus manages to sing together.
First up, let's talk about the people responsible for the physical infrastructure. You know, the airports themselves. These are the groups that handle everything from big-picture governance to the day-to-day grind of airport management.
And we're going to start with ACINA. This group is often called the voice of airports, and honestly, that's a pretty perfect description.
So ACINA represents the actual owners of the airports. We're talking the local, regional, and state governments. Their main job is to push for policies that are good for both the airport and the surrounding community. Think things like getting federal money for a new runway, or helping standardize security rules. And just so you know, they're the North American piece of a much larger global organization.
Next, we have the AAE. Now, if ACINA represents the airport owners, you can think of the AAE as the voice for the people who are actually running the airport day in and day out. This group is all about the individual airport managers and executives themselves. It was founded way back in 1928, and its main focus is on professional development. They're so serious about it, they even offer a special designation, the Accredited Airport Executive, which is a huge deal for proving your expertise in this field.
All right, rounding out our ground game crew is NASO, and these guys act as a super important bridge, connecting federal aviation policy with what's happening at the state and local levels.
NASA's members are the state aviation officials, the people working inside the state departments of transportation. Their whole job is to be that bridge, making sure the federal, state, and local governments are all on the same page, so that aviation policy is consistent across the country.
Okay, let's leave the tarmac and head up into the sky. Now we're going to look at the really powerful groups that represent the pilots and the companies who are actually flying the planes.
Take a look at this number, over 400,000. What in the world could that possibly represent in aviation?
Well, that massive number is the membership of AOPA. With more than 400,000 members, the Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association is an absolute giant in the world of general aviation. They fight for everyone from student pilots to longtime aircraft owners on really critical stuff, like protecting airport access and pushing for fair regulations.
Now, not all pilot and operator groups are the same, not by a long shot. Let's compare two other huge players, ALPA and the NBAA.
So here's the key difference, and it's pretty simple. The Airline Pilots Association, ALPA, is the biggest union for commercial airline pilots. They're focused on the flight crew's interests, fair contracts, safety rules, things like that. On the other hand, the National Business Aviation Association, the NBAA, represents thousands of companies that use planes for business. So one is for the career pilot, the other is for the corporate flight department.
All right, now let's shift gears and look at the organizations that represent the commercial and manufacturing titans of the industry. This is the economic engine that builds the planes and flies most of the passengers.
When it comes to the airlines, you've got three main players. First, there's Airlines for America, or ATA, which is the main voice for the big U.S. carriers. Then you have the RAA, which advocates for those super important regional airlines that connect smaller towns to the big hubs. And then, on the world stage, you've got IATA, which helps coordinate that crazy, complex web of international fares and rules that let you fly from one country to another without a hitch.
So what about the companies that actually build the planes? Well, the Aerospace Industries Association, or AIA, represents the manufacturers of the big stuff, commercial and military aircraft. And for the smaller guys, you've got JAMA, the General Aviation Manufacturers Association, which is the voice for companies making smaller GA planes and all their components.
And trust me, the alphabet soup goes even deeper than this. There are super specialized groups for pretty much every niche you can imagine. We're talking about the Helicopter Association International, the Professional Aviation Maintenance Association for Technicians, and even the National Agricultural Aviation Association for crop dusters. Everybody's got a seat at the table.
So, with all these different groups, each with their own agenda, how does anything ever get done? It sounds like it should be chaos, right? Well, that's the really interesting part. A lot of the time, they work together, like a coordinated chorus.
This quote really just says it all perfectly. Even though each organization is fighting for its own members, they often close ranks to work together on shared goals that benefit the entire aviation community. We're talking about big issues like safety, funding, or security.
So, at the end of the day, this complicated network isn't just a bunch of bureaucracy. It's the essential support system. It provides the data, the training, and that unified political voice that's needed to keep our entire aviation system safe, innovative, and growing.
It's this incredible, invisible web of cooperation and advocacy. So the next time you're at an airport or you're just looking out an airplane window, maybe you'll think about this alphabet soup, this huge, invisible network working tirelessly behind the scenes to make your flight possible.